Benvenuti in cucina! Welcome to my kitchen. Today, we're going to make Cantaloupe Soup, the perfect recipe for a chill soup. Salmon filet, presented with an astonishing sauce. It features spinach and pancetta. And we end with a Sicilian Almond Pudding, Biancomangiare. And I will answer the perplexing question, can Nick Stellino be a vegetarian? Go for the recipes. Stay for the story. From time to time, my friends ask me if I could be a vegetarian. I'm thinking, it's not gonna happen. But I have an enormous amount of vegetarian dishes which I consider to be great and in need of no meat whatsoever. Does it ever happen to you in summertime you feel like soup? Well, I have the perfect recipe for a chill soup. It's made with cantaloupe, then there's some Parmesan cream that we place on top, and some tidbits of prosciutto turned into wonderful crunchy chips. Let me show you how to make it. I did not believe into the possibility of something that could actually make cold soups and make it taste great. However, if you do like soup and it's summertime and you're looking for something that reminds you of Italy, this is the soup. Cantaloupe soup with prosciutto and Parmesan cream is one of my most proud creations, but there are some very basic techniques I need to walk you through. First, let's take a look at the prosciutto. Prosciutto is not like bacon. In spite of the fact that there is a certain amount of fat in the prosciutto, there's not so much fat that really will actually save it if you were to cook it on super high heat. What we want to do, we want to dry out this prosciutto. How do we do it? The first thing that I do is I place the pan on medium heat to get it nice and hot. And now I'm going to put the oil. I brush just a little bit of oil. I like to use extra light. And then the super thin slices of prosciutto di Parma, we place them right on the pan. And you'll notice within a matter of moments, they will start to dry up. You can see the drying up process right through the changing of the color. You do not want to go high heat on this one. If you go high heat on this one, you are going to burn them. So with the moderate heat, it gives you the ability to follow it through, and you can see through the changing of the color when these particular pieces are ready. Do not use your fingers, thinking that you can just move everything around. Your fingers will not like you. There you are. Just let it go at it until the color changes and we go almost to this very color, which is the sear color of the prosciutto, which is completely dry through. The prosciutto is nice and toasty. We're gonna let it rest because while the prosciutto is finishing up, I'm going to show you how to make the Parmesan cream sauce. I know, this is exciting. I'm going to make Parmesan cream sauce. You see me actually making this last year when I showed you to make the tortellini alla panna. The concept is the same. A good portion of the cream is made out of water. So what we're aiming to do of a medium heat is to reduce the cream and liberate it of most of its water. So here we go with that. And together with the cream, a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Parmigiano Reggiano, of course, eh? And then consistently. Mix it up. Mix it up until the cream starts to simmer. In the process of simmering, you will notice that the cream will put out bubbles, first on the edges, then it will move closer to the end. As long as you keep moving like this, you will not burn the Parmigiano. All that you're trying to do at this point is simply getting rid of the water and thickening up the cream that we will use as a topping, as a decoration for our soup. Well, everything is ready. We got our prosciutto that we're gonna chop up into tiny bits. Our cream sauce is finished and reduced perfectly. Now, let me show you to make the soup. Well, in terms of cooking, there's very little to be done. So first we go in with the cantaloupe, and I put the cantaloupe, which I, of course, peeled and cut into cubes like this. These days, many supermarkets, by the way, offer the service. You can have the fruit already cut, and if you buy it and use it the same day, this is ideal for you. A little bit of Parmesan cheese. Then we go with white balsamic vinegar. Why? What the vinegar does, it works as an accelerator. It forces in a certain way, without cooking any of the ingredients chemically through its own properties, to mold all these flavors into the perfect way. Without the vinegar, it would taste tremendously different. Fresh chopped basil, chopped white onions that we're going to add as well, and a little bit of water just to get this whole process started. Chilled water, of course. Then put the cover on top. You think that this is something obvious. Trust me, for as much as I might appear as a man of decent intelligence, many times I put all the ingredients together, and this always happens at a party when there's a lot of people. Then I push the button, next thing you know, this thing explodes upwards. So this time I got my hands in here. It was so hard for me to do. It took a lot of effort. Hold on, let me take a breath here because I really went over the top. I'm kidding you. We still need to add some more flavors. What? Of course, the first thing that we're gonna do is a little bit of Nick Stellino magic rub. It's gotta go in there. The salt, onion powder, garlic powder, brown sugar, pepper, and paprika. Also, for you, when you make this at home, always start with the pulse. It will ensure success for you. One last ingredient we need to add, and it's extra virgin olive oil. I'm gonna add it now, and I don't wanna say anything because otherwise the sound will completely obliterate me. And this is going to be totally processed and emulsified into the soup. Now, the soup is ready, but it's not flavored yet. The consistency is exactly where we want it. Nice and wonderful. I can smell from the aroma that we have everything in here. But the flavors need to come together. For this to come together, it needs to live in the refrigerator for a few hours. The soup for me is a major achievement. It's a major achievement because I never thought I could give consistency to a chilled soup that would have all the flavors of Italy the way that I embody them in my mind. And to be able to achieve this is a big deal. This is a very fancy dish as far as I'm concerned, and I like to present it as such. We have chopped our prosciutto, and what I like to do at this point is to basically sprinkle it on top of it. Why is this important? Do not go over the top too much. Remember that in spite of the fact that they're such small pieces, they're very, very salty. The last bit of addition that I like to make is the Parmesan cream. This, to me, is the kind of soup that I would present at a wedding, especially a summer wedding, as a soup in which I would present to somebody that I would like to greatly impress, like a grand business associate, or for you out there, single people. This is a wonderful way to start a first date. And this is how you make cantaloupe soup with Parmesan cream and prosciutto chips. I believe that every ingredient has a personality of its own. If you find the line in the middle, the line that takes you to this journey that you're trying to get, in terms of what the flavors will bring you, the ability to understand the flavors and how they come in and where they go is the most important thing for every person when they're in the kitchen to realize that just because you do it one way, it can be done 10 different ways. And especially here in the United States of America, there are so many inspirations from all these cultures that come around. This is a recipe I'm totally excited about it. Salmon filet, cooked very simply but presented with an astonishing sauce. It features spinach and pancetta, but that's not it. There's even sour cream in there and lime juice. Let me show you how to make it. In the pan, we have some hot oil. Now I'm gonna walk you step by step in showing you how I make this incredible sauce, which I didn't even give it a name. I simply call it a sauce with spinach, sour cream, and pancetta. But the ingredients come in at a different time. We go with the onions. Now, What I've done, I've chopped the onions super fine, and now to the onions we're gonna add the pancetta that I've also chopped quite fine. Why, people ask me often, says, why do you like to put pork with fish? It's not that it's a special thing, but there is something about this combination of flavors that they just get along. It's like having a chocolate chip cookies with a glass of milk. You can't beat the flavor. I will not say this is the same thing, but the combination of the two really works very well. In this process right now, something wonderful is happening. The onions are exchanging flavor with the pancetta. The pancetta, which is Italian style bacon, is already full of flavor, an enormous amount of it. So you notice I haven't put any salt or any pepper as of yet, something that we'll move on later into it. The next add that I make is going to be chopped garlic. If you wanted to substitute with a more interesting addition instead of the garlic, you could go with ginger. I've done them before and it works wonderfully well. You're gonna let this cook for a couple of moments, stirring well and keeping an eye. You do not want to burn the pancetta. You just want to render in there, you want to start browning. The moment is ideal now. We'll add a little bit of my Nick's magic. The salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, brown sugar. In equal parts, they really have a fantastic yin-yang effect, and you can see already how they're coloring the bottom of this, giving us the flavor that I want. That's the brown sugar. The molasses is breaking down. The onion powder, the garlic powder already assaulting this. This by itself, as it is super fabulous. We're gonna deglaze it all with a little bit of brandy. Stir well as the brandy evaporates. Now, why are we doing this? Why am I stirring like this? You're noticing that the bottom of the pan, the color is becoming a little bit darker. Those are the brown bits that were stuck at the bottom that we are reincorporating through the usage of the liquid, in the case the brandy, and we're making this wonderful. How wonderful? Wait, I'm not done yet. Here we go with the chopped spinach. Why did I chop it? I could have put a whole leaf if I wanted to, because this will collapse in no time. The water that is present in the spinach, even after you chopped it, is going to give us a fantastic flavor. It is at this point that you want to reduce the heat to medium-low and slowly cook the sauce. But there is one more addition that I need to make to this. This addition, I would like to tell you that it was spurred by genius. And every time I talk about myself, the word genius is very applicable. If you don't love yourself, who's going to? I know. My wife says, you're always giving yourself compliments. What am I going to do, insult myself? But truly, the way this thing came together was kind of strange. I had a lime laying around. Earlier in the day, I've seen somebody making a drink with a lime juice, and I thought, you know what? This will be fantastic, especially if I want to maintain the acidity into the sauce in a very elegant way, because the next addition that we're going to make is going to be the sour cream. So here I go with about a tablespoon and a half of lime juice. And the first time that I understood how important is the juice of lime, lemons, and oranges was in another dish that a friend of mine, an Armenian friend of mine, brought to my house. She brought me a gift of lahmacun. To my understanding, is known as Turkish pizza. The lahmacun at the end has a big, huge spray of lemon that you put on it to really bring all the flavors together. I had never seen that done in the motion before. Usually lemon or lime, to me, are placed on top of raw food. But in this particular case, there is an opening that takes place where the acidity of these juices is almost like blossom. Now we're going to bring this down to a low heat, and we're going to add the sour cream. Look already how beautiful this is. The reason why I don't want to cook the sour cream on high heat, I don't want it to break down. I want to maintain its viscosity, its look, and its feel. Slowly, as all these elements will continue cooking amongst themselves, the sauce will really render in a wonderful way. At this point, we're basically done. So what I like to do is to just let the sauce cook on low heat for the next 4 or 5 minutes. And while the sauce is cooking, let me show you how to cook the salmon. That's going to be fantastic. This technique, you've seen it often done in the American barbecue. Now you make the spice rub stick to your protein. One of the simplest way to do it is basically taking a little bit of mayonnaise. It could be olive oil, It could be basically anything, even water if you want to. But what mayonnaise does have, it continues the message of the acidity that's brought forth by the lime. At this point, I go with my Nick Stellino special rub, and I put it right in here. This is the first side of the fish that will go down. Now, a size of salmon like this, we're looking at about 2.5 minutes per side on medium heat. Why? And this is very important. A lot of people feel that if you can sear the fish real quickly and then turn it over, well, what you're gonna end up doing really is not so much maintaining the juices on the inside of the fish, but you're gonna dry out the fish. And one of the biggest mistakes that most people do when they cook fish, they cook it as if it was meat. Fish needs a gentle cooking, especially during this process. Right at this very moment, what is taking place, the brown sugar, which is part of the spice pack that I put on top of it, is already crystallizing itself and creating a small, tiny armor around it. Now you can also see, and you need to see this, do you see how you can see how the cooking of your fish is taking place? It's like at the very bottom, you can see it cooking still raw on this side. Now we need to turn it. Watch this technique. Because the biggest mistake that people make is to turn it real fast and then you splash. And when you splash, this oil is unforgiving. Actually, it's quite cruel. So what I do, I go underneath with the spatula, holding it with a spoon, off we go to the other side. And look what a beautiful, beautiful bit of fish we have. Now we're gonna let this cook all the way to the end. And one of the things that I want you to realize is that once you input this kind of flavoring right on here, it will impact every single bite that you take. This flavoring is quite impactful by itself because it has a diversity of layers. The onion powder, the garlic powder, the brown sugar, the salt, many of those things that seem to work against each other seem to come together into this flow. And also it gives to the fish the perfect look. The last technique that I'm going to use is known arrosé. It's the adding of soft batter to the pan, which we are going to use to baste the top of the salmon. And watch what I do. How important is this? It's fantastic. Look at it. It restores a shimmering glow, and at the same time, it bathes it, making it that much more tender. You do not know this, but the butter has not only a wonderful protective quality to it, but an infusion of flavors that's picking up as going to the bottom and reincorporating with all the wonderful spices that are part of the salmon. The fish is basically ready. The sauce is ready, and I'm smiling. Why? Because now I'm going to show you how to plate it. A sour cream sauce. I've been traveling through France, and a couple of restaurants had a real interesting sauces that were made with cream spinach. And I thought, there might be a way to kind of bring up the action on this. This is as elegant as it is thick. For things to taste great, they don't need to be complicated. They just need to taste great. And this is a wonderful way for us to put all these flavors together. And this is how you make salmon fillet over a sauce made of pancetta, spinach, and sour cream. A masterpiece. But when it comes to me, the biggest thing is the making of caponata. People say, well, what is caponata? Caponata, if you want to think about it, is nothing more than an eggplant relish. But within the context of caponata, there's the whole story of Sicily in it. There are the cape berries. Together with the cape berries, there is the tomato sauce and the extra virgin olive oil, the frying of the eggplant, the vinegar, the sugar, the marination that is left within. And then there is a surprise that nobody expects. Cocoa powder. Bitter cocoa powder that's added to the caponata, which suddenly changes the color altogether. Before yourself, you see the depth of the red becoming almost a strong brown. And as all this thing happens, you feel these flavors coming at you. And after all this is put together, it's not over. Then there is the fresh herbs that you put in. You start with some chopped garlic, of course, and then you go with mint, parsley, basil. People say vegetarian dishes are boring. I don't know what restaurant you go to. If all you do is you just boil a potato and you eat it. But there is a truth in the essence of vegetarian dishes, which is spectacular. I know that you realize that I've gained some weight since you saw me last time. What I'm about to show you now, it's exactly how it happened. And you could call it a Sicilian almond pudding, but as Sicilians, we even have a better name, Biancomangiare. Let me show you how to make it. Biancomangiare. Hey, Biancomangiare is a very Sicilian recipe from the town of Palermo, where I'm from. In the pan, the first thing that we want to do is to add chopped almonds. Why do we do it this way? I am going to stir this almond around in just a moment, but what I'm going to do before I do that, I'm going to put some sugar. In this case, it's white refined sugar. I want for the sugar to hug the almond and to almost give him a nice, wonderful sweet coating. You don't want to do this for too long, just a couple of moments like this. The idea here is to infuse the liquid with the taste of the almonds. Now you'll see what I mean. I've always done it with milk, but I liked it to have a little bit heavy. In this case, I use half and half. Traditionally, you would do this with milk alone, but half and half is more of almost like an ice cream-like texture to it. And then we go with sugar. This is not for a diet. This is real sugar that we put in here, and we put it because we want to have this sweet. And then you start basically stirring around. In this stirring process, several things are happening. The sugar is melting into the milk. As the sugar melts into the milk, the toasting also is bringing out the oil from the almonds. As the almonds release their oil into the milk, it's as if we're making our own homemade almond milk. At this point, the next thing that we want to do is to thicken this. There is two modus operandi here at play. One is the cornstarch. The cornstarch is my favorite one. What the cornstarch does, it basically takes the mass of liquid and it turns it into something solid almost before your very own eyes. And then as it cools in the refrigerator, because it'll still need to cool for some time, it gives it a texture in which you can totally bite into. So it makes a heavier dessert, but an enormous amount of flavor. Another lighter way to go at this is, instead of using the cornstarch as I do, is to use gelatin. And what I can tell you with gelatin, I think it makes it too soft, but it makes almost much more of an ice cream-like consistency to it, the kind that you can spoon over. So if you decide to do gelatin instead of cornstarch, keep this in mind. Gelatin, you need about 1 teaspoon to each 1 full cup of liquid that you use in order to solidify. Now, watch what's happening. Don't look at me anymore. Look at this. It's nice and hot. At this point, we start adding our cornstarch, and as we add the cornstarch, we stir consistency. What we want to make sure is to create almost a well that absorbs all of the cornstarch, and the violence involved into the arithmetic addition of what we're doing right now is basically allowing for the cornstarch to melt, go straight into the milk, and as it opens up, in its most basic way, it will thicken up this cream right in front of our very own eyes. We got the consistency that I want at this point. Now let's pour this into my favorite container, this glass, a martini glass. I'm gonna put it right in here. We have placed our dessert in our favorite container, but before we can actually eat and enjoy it the way it's supposed to be, it has to cool and it has to thicken up. So I'm going to bring it to the refrigerator for a few hours. Once it cools off, the top part becomes like a little crust. You see in this with just about every pudding that you make. Now, this is great because it will be able to absorb the layers of flavor that I want to add to it. Now, this is chocolate that I have grated as fine as possible. And what I like to do is to almost cover the complete top of it. The part that I love is because of the fact that it's hardened up, I have the ability with a spoon now to spread it. If this was soft, we could not be doing this. And I like to do it so that almost creates a crust of its own. Mind you, this is wonderful semi-sweet chocolate that I grated ahead of time. And keep in mind, with every bite that you take of this, you're gonna be taking a bite of the pudding underneath, and it will make the perfect combination. We also have some whipping cream that we whipped ahead of time. And I like to add it right in here. There you are. And then this is typical Sicilian, a maraschino cherry right on top to wish us well. And it's so cute, it's so fun. You can control the texture of the dessert and the sweetness by increasing the sugar and by also increasing the amount of cornstarch. On the other hand, if you like to have it looser, you diminish the amount of the cornstarch. Just because I give you the recipe doesn't mean that that recipe is the absolute only way in which something can be done. And like my father used to tell me, there is nothing in life that you cannot do. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how you make the magic of Biancomangiare. There are so many ancillary flavors that can be brought to the consistency of a vegetable. Something as simple as a potato, as far as I'm concerned, can be turned into something worthy of a king without using a single piece of meat. You should see what I can do with potato and broccoli. I make a soup. It's something else. But when nobody looks, I also add a little bit of bacon. Why? It tastes so good. Vegetarian? Me? If I can have a little bacon once in a while, it'll be okay. And maybe I could do that. Maybe. No, meatballs. No. I cannot do without meatballs. No. That's it. We cannot do vegetarian. We cannot do vegetarian. Occasionally, I am caught by inspirations that even surprise me. I ask myself, how could such stunning intelligence come upon a man in a body like this? The answer never came to me, but once I realized that must be the kind of food that I eat. Now, we have everything we want. Take a look at the consistency of the soup. Did you guys see this fly that came by me? No. Okay, then I'm happy.